far as generic melee heroes go, I'd probably put the Exalted hero, My Little Brony, in the top 5. Their stats are just so good for their cost, and they have some really good mount options as well. Today I'm taking 2 of them with Archaon, which is a pretty common setup on horseback. Warriors of Chaos versus Greenskins, Red Wedding Planner, my opponent here, and we've both gone with some really unconventional builds. Just by happenstance, I've got 2 giants, 2 Exalted heroes, and then Archaon. We've got the Mark of Corn on the Exalted heroes, which is one of the items they can take. Gives them a little bit of a frenzy effect, extra base weapon damage, 8 melee attack, immune to psychology, and 10% charge bonus, which is just fantastic. They already have pretty good charge bonus. Fantastic melee attack, armor. Obviously, the speed's great on horseback. Excellent melee defense as well. I say excellent, not the best melee defense, but good enough, certainly. And of course, with Archaon, they'll also have additional immune to psychology from Crown of Domination. Yeah, for the front line, I've got Marauders with some Forsaken out on the flanks, some Hounds for support, and 2 Horsemen. You can see the rocks being thrown here by the big inn. We've got Grom the Paunch, Swamp Things, River Troll Hag, Crimson Killers, 8 Peak Loons, front line of Gobos, and plenty of Gobbo Cavalry, 2 Spider Riders, 3 Wolf Riders. None of them are actually archers. A little bit of a spoiler alert, but in the post-battle, Red Wedding Planner and I would agreed basically it would have been good to retool some of the funds, maybe demote the Crimson Killers to a regular Black Orc, and use some of those funds to upgrade, like, the Wolf Riders specifically to Archer variant. But anyway, Biggin gonna be chilling in the back, and Red Wedding Planner's kind of fighting forward. I'm gonna detach my Skirmish Cavalry to go throw javelins and axes here. I'm not really too worried about this flank from these light cavalry here, so we're just gonna get in combat. And the Swamp Things are going to come in. They're going to help pound out a unit of Forsaken here. We definitely take quite a bit of damage. The Giant will reinforce there. Swamp Things pulling back very wisely. Yeah, I've got a lot of single entities to try and fight. Well, yeah, I've like my own single entities, and also some important single entities with regeneration to fight. My opponent here did not bring the Hellfire Sword, which can give these Exalted heroes fire damage. Would have been really nice against these Trolls and the Troll Hag, but even still, we can just kind of chase them around a little bit here. Nice Burning Head does some friendly fire, but helps do some damage to these Crimson Killers as well. I'm just going to path both of the Giants in on the Crimson Killers. You can see in the background there, Light Cavalry pushing my Light Cavalry away as the Skirmish Cav is kind of forced out of position. The Hounds only can do so much to support. They are definitely going to fall apart, but at the very least, I just want to keep everything here busy while this main fight happens. Wob now being popped. We've got, yeah, a little bit of buffs here. I didn't catch exactly what that was put on, but yeah, nice 8 Peak Loon's going to finish off some of those Marauders, and my support will fall apart pretty quickly, but key is to just allow time for these single entities to do their work, right? So we've got these 2 Exalted heroes here sort of in the same vicinity as Archaon. Right now they're just cleaving through hordes of goblins, and with decent splash attacks, decent weapon strength, they definitely can do quite a bit of damage. I mean, especially with the Mark of Corn, they're going to have higher weapon damage than a lot of other generic melee heroes. Like, I would put them below Paladins and Scar Veterans and White Kings. I'd probably put them at number 4 out of the top 5. You guys let me know where you would rank Exalted heroes. Personally, I mean, the Manticore mounts are fantastic as well. The horse mounts, even taking them just naked on foot, is quite effective. They have some pretty good synergies with their Hellfire Sword, and Mark of Horn is generally an awesome item to have on a character like that. But you can see here that in sustained combat, these Swamp Things are healing. They're taking some damage, but they're also dishing some damage out. Thankfully, not too much. Again, just collapse all these single entities on these 2 expensive units here and try and get them off the field. The rest of my army is suffering pretty badly, though. Marauders trying to regroup here and get back, fight off some of that Light Cav. My own Light Cav is completely done for. We did get this one random unit of Forsaken that's just kind of out here massacring goblins right now. They're up to 145 kills. They've managed to get some isolated engagements that were very favorable to them, so hopefully we can keep them sticking around in the late game for some additional support. But right now, Red Wedding Planner just kind of pulling back, allowing his 2 characters to regenerate here. It looks like the Troll Hag is back to full, but Grom the Paunch still plenty of healing cap space left. Rogue Idol also has plenty of HP to alternately fight or try and continue to throw rocks here. Goblins being thrown in to try and brace, and these other Gobbos here, Wolf Riders, This cavalry versus infantry interaction, it must be said, this is not being fought on the cavalry beta. I'm trying to get through all my non-beta replays before I start getting to those, which we will soon. I only have, like, maybe 4 more replays to cast on the non-beta, and then we'll be getting to some beta replays, so look forward to that. But anyway, these Marauders here are going to eat charges, and regardless, they'll do some good damage on the counter charge, but just the numbers of cavalry here will mean they're likely to get routed off. But again, it's more just about occupying all these units, not allowing them to come support the single entity combat. Meanwhile, I'm just kind of detaching them at the moment, spreading them out a little bit here. This is very risky going 1v1 with this Rogue Idol, but I've got 2 defensive buffs, Cascading Fire Cloak and Standard Eye, both active. He's up to 93 melee defense, almost 500 weapon strength, so I'm not too worried about that biggin. I mean, he's basically minimum hit chance even with his 70 melee attack, right? So another Burning Head from Archaon trying to do leadership damage. These spiders, I maybe rout them, but the Terror not taking hold. Their leadership is too high for that at the moment. But yeah, the biggin took a lot of damage there in that engagement with the 2 Exalted Heroes. Beggin managed to get a little swipe in there, but you see how dangerous it is when they don't have that melee defense buff active. One of them just eats a huge smash in the face from the biggin there. Has to run the heck away. Yeah, without those buffs, I definitely don't want to be taking that fight, even 2v1 with those Exalted Heroes. So, yeah, we're going to pull away there, try and detach, go after Grom here. Grom, 84 speed, but he is... his vigor is actually better than them, but with their charge animation, they might be able to catch him there. Greatness here is popped. That's going to give a nice melee attack buff, in particular to the Swamp Things. Grom himself gets a rear charge. This is not great for the Exalted Hero. Grom has really good attack animations, and a point-blank dunk from from the Rogue Idol there. And that Exalted Hero is down, but yeah, he actually dies there. But the other one's still holding for the time being. Archaon also rips off another Burning Head, again, mostly just for leadership damage on all of these Greenskin units to see if we can't proc a little bit of a Terror route with the presence of the Giant. This one Giant is pretty well damaged. We'll keep the health bars up as it's going to be a little bit of RNG as these single entities kind of struggle here in combat against each other. Getting close with the banners, it's just an absolute nightmare. So maybe we'll get rid of them for just a moment as the Rogue Idol gets to his next tier, his final tier of health degeneration, up to 1100 weapon strength. So if he makes contact with any of these units here, I mean, he can 2-shot both of my characters. So that's potentially not great. Right now he's enraged and the animations are bugging out a little bit. Boom, he gets a hit on the Giant right there. Standard Eye has been popped for the defensive buff. Definitely very important. Very critical for Archaon to try and resist some of that damage at this point, but leadership of these Greenskin units is not going to hold up. All the supporting, cavalry and the 10 Crimson Killers that remain here really not doing well on leadership. But one Giant does just get straight up KO'd by the Angry Idol. He himself ends up routing, given that, these 2 smaller single entities, Archaon, and the Archaon and the Exalted Hero both kind of slipping under the radar. With the biggin down, it's going to be tough. Balance power still close, though, as Grom still got quite a bit of HP healing cap space left. I mean, both of my Lord and Hero remaining are pretty low. It's mostly this Giant here that has a ton of HP. This other Forsaken, up to 150 kills, tons of damage value, still sticking around as well, and actually doing okay against that River Troll Hag in that little surround. Eventually, they do shatter there as the Exalted Hero comes around to fight. Rogue Idol goes down to Archaon, which is just fantastic. I'm able to squeak away there from the Wolf Riders before they get in good support. Grom's going to go after the Giant, which is a good call. I mean, if he can get some cycle charges in here without taking too much damage, but he takes a couple of big hits from the Giant. I'm going to throw a Cascading Fire Cloak just to juice the melee defense, and again, extra AP damage as well. But a couple of big hits on Grom there just tilted the balance power pretty significantly. Not to mention, Exalted Hero does finish off the River Troll Hag. So yeah, that's going to lead to leadership army losses for the Greenskins. An excellent game to Red Wedding Planner, honestly. But with the single entities kind of fighting there, a lot of that does come down to RNG. I mean, certainly the buffs and debuffs at the appropriate time are sort of how you help stack the RNG in your favor, but it still does come down to a significant amount of RNG. But still, both the Exalted Heroes, I mean, one of them, this is pretty close to what I paid for him. We'll have to look in just a second at the cost. But the other one, 2200 damage value, actually outperformed Archaon, which, probably not good for his health and safety. but at the same time, certainly very impressive. Maybe the gods will protect him from Archaon's wrath later on. But yeah, very impressive stuff, honestly. The Marauders just kind of got massacred, which is somewhat to be expected. The Forsaken actually did pretty well here. Forsaken are in a unit that I'm not... they're good as a tactical weapon in specific matchups for high DPS, but they can be very squishy. Certainly they are one of those like squishy DPS units, but here, I mean, 212 kills, 900 damage value. Excellent. Even in the short time, the Marauders, I mean, the Throwing Axes were able to pay for themselves in the short time they were on the field. The Giants also, 2,000 damage value apiece. Excellent. I mean, Giants are risk-reward. You know, if your opponent brings a lot of ranged units, which is why I was talking about the Wolf Rider Archers earlier, they would have gotten really good value against the Giants. Generally, if your opponent brings ranged units, your Giants are going to die, but in certain matchups, they're pretty good, and sort of as a bit of a gamble in other matchups, like Greenskins don't always go ranged heavy here. Certainly, you see a lot of skirmish cav in this matchup in many cases, and had a Red Wedding Planner gone with like a full 6 skirmish cav build, as is somewhat typical, I probably would have had serious problems. I didn't really have enough effective screening force to be able to eat those shots. I mean, maybe I could have tried to eat them on my smaller single entities here, kind of screening out in front. Hard to say. But regardless, yeah, fun game in the rest of the army here. Crimson Killers, despite how much I just tried to poop all over them, they still performed quite well. All the like have pays for itself pretty well too. Swamp Thing's also admirable performance, up to 1,500 damage value, plus some terror routes at some key times. I do like them as an ROR. I do feel they're fairly underrated. Regenerating terror units always nice. And the little melee attack debuff is also pretty good now, I think. Rogue Idol doesn't quite pay for itself, but I do admire the pick for style points, certainly. Red Wedding Planner going with a very fun build here. But let's finish up, talk about Exalted Heroes. I've been seeing quite a bit of Archaon double Exalted Hero recently, and it's quite strong. I mean, 600 base cost. What do you get for it? 65 melee attack, 100 armor, 420 weapon strength are kind of the main advantages, right? Chaos units in general tend to have pretty cost-effective stats without having too many special abilities, right? Like, if you look at units in their roster, I mean, that is kind of the tail of the tape for all of their units, for the most part, right? Like, Chaos Warriors literally have no special abilities or traits whatsoever. They just have really good stats for what you pay for, right? So that does carry true with the Exalted Hero as well. The difference here is you can come in and buy some extra abilities if you want to. Mark of Corn, certainly at, common, I guess, tier ability, lowest cost. Less than 100 points, it's definitely worth the upgrade for the extra melee attack, charge bonus, weapon damage, especially considering your primary non-AP. So unlike a regular Frenzy, this fully benefits, that spread. Very good. Hellfire Sword, again, offers some synergy with Lore of Fire. It does offer limited uptime. 90-second recharge, 42-second uptime, though, is quite a long time. And again, you do get additional weapon strength. You've got the gold. Deadly Onslaught's always nice for the additional charge bonus. Although their charge bonus on the horse isn't amazing in comparison to some other characters, like Paladin, for example. Cheaper base cost. Go ahead and kit this guy down again. Do just a raw comparison. On foot, yeah, cheaper base costs on the Paladin, but you can see kind of worse all around other than the charge bonus. The charge bonus is also better on horseback, as you would expect for a more knightly character, but certainly the Paladin also having anti-large, somewhat beneficial, but it does get balanced out by the fact the Exalted Hero just has straight up better weapon strength and melee attack by 20, so, I mean, you're literally getting the same benefit, more or less. More HP as well, a little bit less armor on horseback, which I find interesting from the Paladin, but you have the option to go all the way up to a Manticore mount, which obviously is going to give you even better charge bonus, Fear and Terror, less armor, but, a little bit of a different stat spread. You've got 460 weapon strength now, and obviously big flying monster. It's basically like if you're comparing now to a Feral Manticore, you get for a 300-point upgrade, you get no Enrage, and in fact gets replaced by Encourage. It also has 35 extra armor, which is what I would determine to be, the 35 armor and the 14 leadership both. I would say make this a worthwhile upgrade. Like, if you have an empty hero slot, you have an extra 300 points, and you're taking a Manticore, which Chaos very often does, it's worth it to just swap that out for an Exalted Hero. You get, again, extra armor, leadership, super important, extra melee attack is also really nice, 15 extra weapon strength, 5 extra charge, 129 HP, and again, you lose Rampage, replace it with Encourage, which is additional leadership, right? So, really good stuff, honestly. Exalted Heroes, you pretty much should always be filling your hero slots with most factions, in my opinion, and even here, like, you can always cut one unit of Chaos Warriors to just take an Exalted Hero on foot, and I would think in most situations that's going to be better. I mean, you could even come in and kit him out slightly for less cost. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. See you next time.